Vashon Allied Arts is very proud to present this original musical by Mindy Little. I'd also like to draw your attention to the art show in the gallery. It's on loan to us from the Wing Luke Museum. It's comprised of paintings by Kenjiro Nomura, a Japanese-American man who painted the paintings while he was in the internment camps during the war. He started out, he moved to Camp Harmony at Puyallup and then went to Idaho at Camp Minidoka. The paintings were found hidden away by his niece, who put them together, and we're very pleased and appreciative to the Wing Luke Museum for lending them to us. There are a lot of people here, so you may even come back. They're really quite wonderful paintings. Before we begin the show, I'd like to let you know that next Saturday at 5, before the June Sun show, Billy Sago will be giving a storytelling performance here. Billy Sago is a deaf storyteller of some renown. He's given some American Sign Language classes on the island, and they've been very popular. He is quite a performer. This performance is appropriate for people of all ages. There will be a spoken interpreter, and I suggest you get tickets for that in advance as well. Also, following the closing of June Sun, on Saturday, January 29th, Larry Muir will be bringing his band, Fat Chance, to town for a contras and square dance. Put on your dancing shoes and come out and form your lines and squares. If you want to learn how, come at 7. If you want to just dance and already know, come at 8. Thank you very much for coming tonight. Enjoy the show.
surrounded myself with words, especially these on the lines of this newspaper, the Tully Island Times. I'm Lucy Calhoun. I've been the editor and publisher of this paper for the last 18 years. On these lines are the accounts of such newsworthy items as high school football scores, birth announcements, and the menu for the women's luncheon, which was held at the Methodist Church. I even remember last October, while searching for one final story to complete that week's edition, I happened to glance down to witness another run in my stocking as it progressed rapidly up the back of my cap. Well, this was not an unusual occurrence for me, but at last I had pinpointed the culprit. It was heel scaling. Thoroughly satisfied with my self-investigation, I decided that was a subject newsworthy enough to include in the remaining space of the edition. After all, up till then, who knew how many perfectly good pairs of stockings we Tully ladies had shredded with our heels? I cited the damages caused by heel scaling and the way to relieve this troublesome natural menace. It included a blow-by-blow account of soaking, scrubbing, rinsing, drying, smothering with cold cream, and covering up the whole mess with cotton anklets to be worn to bed at night. I'm delighted in such stories as these. To run a successful newspaper, I think you have to write about things that are of interest to your readers. I've always tried to do that. My readers are the good people of Tully. Like most small towns, we're a close-knit community, made even closer by the fact that we live on an island. Our island can be found floating in the southern portion of Puget Sound in Washington State. We have the city of Seattle to the east of us, the Olympic Peninsula and the Bremerton Naval Shipyard to the west, and Tacoma to the south. People get to and from our island by ferry boat. Most people work on this island as farmers. This island produces some of the finest apples, berries of all kinds, raspberries, strawberries, loganberries, blackberries, currants, sweet cherries, pie cherries. Lots of chicken farmers here. Some fishermen, and we have various small town shopkeepers as well. Not unlike a moat which separates castle from kingdom, the waters of the Puget Sound separated us from an unfamiliar world. That same water that had allowed us to be observers eventually sought our participation. Line by line tells a story, not just words, but the story of time. Week by week, I fill these lines with the lives of the people on the island. Day by day, high tide low, not just water, but isolation. Small town floating in the middle of the sound with the lives of the people on the island. I could not foresee it then. The words and the water would soon begin to connect to the war of the world, and then
I think you stuck your arm out just to trip the rope. No, I didn't. It was destiny. Come on, Fran. Oh, George, I don't want to get married. You have to do it. Boy, you do? Sure you do. If you want children.
Well, I want children.
Then it's settled. You have to do it.
I don't think so. I certainly can't imagine my parents ever doing it.
Of course they did, silly. How do you think you got here?
I don't care what you say, Sarah Tanaki. I am not taking a bath with Jimmy Bailey.
Seeing that high-pitched laugh with such a piercing quality, I was surprised it didn't shatter the lenses of her eyeglasses. I know it did damage to my eardrums.
Well, perhaps we could import some sopranos from another church.
Well, Claudia Bingham has a lovely voice. But I don't know if you can convert a Catholic. Well, hello, girls.
Frances, we missed your mother at choir practice today. Did she forget?
Oh, no. She probably got too busy. She's in charge of refreshments for the grandchildren tonight. So, she probably got too busy cooking. Oh, no.
What's the matter?
I forgot. I was supposed to get some butter for my mother on the way home from school this afternoon. I'm in trouble. I gotta go now.
Bye, Francis.
Bye, honey.
Bye. Bye, Millie. Bye, Sarah. Bye. Bye. See what my mother made for Peg?
What's that, China doll?
I'm not Chinese. I'm Japanese.
I know you are. You've told me that a million times. But you'll always be my China doll.
Look at the kimono my mother made for Peg. It's silk.
Oh, yes.
And she did all these fancy stitches on the front part herself.
And it goes so nicely with her blue eyes.
Isn't it keen, Mom? Sarah's mom said she'd make one for me, too. I mean, for Alice to wear.
Oh, how nice of her.
Well, it's not every day that a baby doll gets a beautiful silk kimono to wear.
Oh, I know. Alice and Peg sure are lucky.
I think they're also lucky to have such caring little mothers.
Oh, I think so, too. You know they've always been such happy babies.
That's because we love them. And they love us too. Oh, yes.
That explains it. Listen, I've got a sink full of dishes waiting for me at home. Catherine, girls, I've got to go. Oh, Sarah, I almost forgot. Thank your mother for me, will you, for that lovely squash she left on my doorstep. I'll have some
All
tonight.
right, I will.
Honestly, it's futile for me to try and grow my own garden when I've got neighbors that grow things as well as your family. Well, goodbye. Oh, Catherine, I will give some thought to that importing idea of yours.
Gee, Mom, Miss Calhoun is right. Our garden never looks like Sarah's.
Well, someday it might. But I'll be the first to admit, nobody grows strawberries as well as your family, Sarah.
Thank you.
Why, just this morning I passed your father hard at work in the field as usual. He says this year's crop will be the best ever. I don't know how they could get any sweeter unless he sprinkles the entire field with sugar.
He says if you care for something, it'll grow to be sweet.
I'm sure he knows. I've never tasted such wonderful strawberries.
Thank you, Mrs. Anderson. I'll tell him.
Well, off to start supper. Millie, be home in about 15 minutes to wash up and help me.
Yes, ma'am.
Bye, Sarah. Bye, Peg. Alice, I'll see you in 15 minutes also.
Goodbye, Mrs. Anderson. You know what, Millie? These babies are lucky to have us. When I marry Zeke, I want lots of children. And when you marry Jimmy, I'm sure that you
Hold your horses. I haven't even gotten used to this idea of Jimmy. I still don't think I like it much.
Oh, sure. It'll be great. I can't wait for all grown up. Let's just put together. We'll sit around all day and watch our children play. I'll marry Zeke. You'll marry Jimmy.
I suppose for most journalists it was a dream come true. We had more news than paper to write on. But for me, December 11th was the hardest issue to put out. When I first learned of Pearl Harbor, it was that Sunday, December 7th. I was next door at Catherine's house, crocheting little white skirts for the angels we made as Christmas decorations. We sold them every year at the high school Christmas bazaar. It had been our tradition for Catherine, Leah Tanaki, and me to all get together over coffee and pound cake, gossiping the entire time as we assembled our crafty masterpieces. The house was abuzz with activity. Millie and Sarah dressing and undressing those little baby dolls of theirs. Howard, Millie's older brother, was outside banging a basketball against the side of the house. I remember Leah was in the middle of telling us some wonderful news about her teenage daughter, Calla. I'd never seen her so animated. Normally she was quiet and reserved, but today she had the floor. Mother's pride. As it so happened, Calla had made straight A's all the way through high school, and barring the unforeseen, she was going to be her class valedictorian. And it could not have happened to a more deserving young person. Catherine's husband, John, was outside in the driveway on his bat, working on the old tractor, whistling along with tunes on the radio and interjecting obscenities at the appropriate times. He was the first one to hear the news. He came directly to the house, and with a blank expression, he seemed to digest the information as he announced, "We've been attacked." The house was silent. What does this mean, I wondered? Am I to understand that my island was now, or soon would be, surrounded by hordes of Japanese soldiers ready to invade? I remember the numbness as the fragmented information touched my ears, and then I said the most horrible thing I've ever said. I hope we destroy the Japanese. Immediately I felt the door close, and my eyes came to rest on Leah Tanaki. I made some lame apology and then realized I had Sarah's gaze to contend with as well. I didn't mean you, China doll. And she said it, of course. I'm Japanese. Leah graciously excused herself, and she and Sarah left. I spent the next 3 days in agony trying to find a way to vindicate those ugly words. I also had to deal with a mounting sense of responsibility for the well-being of this community. Islanders would look to this newspaper for any comforting words. Since the paper came out on Thursday, I had 3 days to press and to find such words. They never came. Most peculiar were the conditions we had to adapt to. I printed out a list of instructions supplied by our local emergency commissioner for following blackout orders. We were told that any pattern of light could direct enemy planes to Boeing or to the naval shipyards. Volunteers manned posts in 3-hour shifts round the clock. They were instructed to listen and watch for any peculiarities from without and from within. Suspicions of sabotage, a panic that could erase all reason.
Sally, could you hand me that hammer? It's right there on the counter. Now, Howard, make sure it's good and tight across here. If it droops, it's not going to do anybody any good. It's plenty tight. Thanks.
I still don't understand why we have to do this.
Honey, we're just complying with the blackout orders.
And hiding from the Japs.
Well, we're hiding our lights so the Japanese won't know we're here.
Seems pretty silly if you ask me. Sarah knows where we live.
Sarah and her family are not well, they are Japanese. But they're Japanese Americans. That's not the same as the Japanese we're fighting.
How come?
Well, it's just not. They're Americans like us. Oh. There now, Howard, one more to go. I hope this blanket's not too big.
Well, you said you wanted me to do this.
Who in their right mind would want anyone to do that?
What are they doing?
I thought your father was helping Aunt Jenny.
It looks ridiculous.
It wasn't my idea. I was just following orders.
Orders to make my car look like it's wearing sunglasses. Catherine, you should see what your husband did to my car.
I got the instructions from the paper. Catherine, where's the paper? Look, if you've got a problem, maybe you should take it up with Lucy.
You should see what he did to my car. He put this blue cellophane up over the headlights so they're practically no use at all. And then he nailed these rusty pieces of metal up over them.
Here it is. Here it is. It says it's federal law. All lights must be dimmed by placing 2 thicknesses of blue cellophane over the lenses. Cut a horizontal slit 3 inches by 1/2 inch right below center. Hoods must be installed over the headlights to keep the lights from going upward. Driving during blackout time should be avoided.
Don't you mean driving during blackout time should be impossible?
I think that's the point they're trying to make.
John, be a dear. Get me some more nails from the shed. You and Howard can finish up here. Jenny and I promised that we'd pitch in down at the old schoolhouse. They hope to convert it to a casualty center.
now here's a story I can't believe I wrote about. Well, one Sunday, that same December, Catherine's husband John came over to invite me to witness Jenny's newest discovery. It was intended as a way to help people get around more efficiently in the dark. Well, she was always up to something, and I needed to be entertained, so I accompanied John back to their house. Jenny was sitting in the front room, brimming with excitement over her grand idea. She explained it to me in scattered detail, and apparently I was unable to grasp it quickly enough. It had something to do with counting your steps from point A to point B. Oh, please let me demonstrate, she said as she got up from the couch. And with the courage of a man who strides to the end of a gangplank, she closed her eyes, opened the front door, and stepped slowly as she counted 1, 2, 3. She turned back around to John, Catherine, and me, eyes still tightly shut. A triumphant smile spread across her face, and then she stepped into thin air and landed nose first into the bowels of a camellia bush. I was too stunned to react. Catherine was laughing hysterically, and John straightway was trying to extract Jenny by standing on the third step and pulling on her legs, which had now sprouted out amongst the shiny green leaves. We finally managed to separate Jenny from Shrub, and we set her down in Catherine's freshly dug tulip bed. I'll never forget. There with a sprig of camellia matted in her cockeyed bun, she shrieks, "John, well, when did you build that fourth step?" Well, to be perfectly honest, I don't know if I wrote about that for sheer amusement or as a precautionary measure, but that night as I typed the last word of the piece, I found myself getting downright giddy with the knowledge that soon the quiet Tully Island darkness would be disturbed by some calculating farmer as he steps head first into the side of his own barn.
John, I'm telling you, it's a moth hole. It's a moth hole.
I really don't care what kind of creature made it. I can see it big as day from clear across the street. You know, Captain, if we don't try to comply with the civilian defense authorities, we may as well just draw a map for the Japs.
All right, help me take it down, I'll stitch it up.
If we take it down, you'll have to stitch it up in the dark.
Then I'll stitch it in place.